Hi, I'm TJ. This is Home with TJ. And I want to say, for all you soon to be dads out there, congratulations. And hopefully, this isn't going to be your first time hearing it, but happy Father's Day. You are a dad now. They may not be out here in the world already, but still, happy Father's Day. You're going to be a dad. And hopefully, being positive about it. And I'm assuming that if you're going to be looking at this video, watching and listening to this podcast or anything like that, you are going to be a present dad. You're doing your research, so good on you. And yeah, happy Father's Day. Congratulations. And I want to say that at first, it's going to be very overwhelming that you're a dad. Everybody's going to say congratulations. They're going to be asking all kinds of questions and all that. But, just enjoy the moment because, they're coming eventually. You're going to have to, I don't know, you're going to be a dad. It's an unreal feeling. And it's kind of hard to talk about it because, one of my old coworkers, he would always tell me that there's no feeling like it. And I didn't really understand until after my son was born. So there's no words to describe what being a dad is like. There's nobody that can tell you how it feels when you hold them for the first time or you see them or you hear them cry or anything like that. And it's just such a surreal thing that you're going to have to go through it, And I want to start off by saying everybody's going to tell you not to look at the other side of the curtain. There's no curtain. There's nothing, unless you're going in for probably maybe like a C-section and they're going to let you in the room. There's no curtain. So I want to pop that bubble right there. And if it really bothers you that your partner is going to be doing the most badass thing that anybody could do, I don't know, you got to start getting yourself ready, training and getting over it because you got to be there for support and there's nothing else you could do about it. You got to be there. I guess you could not be there, but that's not really ideal for sure. I would highly recommend you're present for the entire process, not process, but like the entire pregnancy, the delivery, after birth and everything. And hopefully the entire life of the child, so yeah, being a dad is it's the most rewarding thing that you could ever do, but it's probably the hardest thing, Before I get into any of that, I want to say, once again, thank you for tuning in. Thanks for listening, watching, however you are getting a hold of me. And you can find me on TikTok, YouTube, Spotify, at Home with TJ. And if you could give me a subscribe, like, comment, follow, 5-star, whatever platform you're on, something that's applicable to help me out, help me grow a little bit. And, hopefully we can get some engagement going and I can figure out exactly what you guys want to hear because I was trying some other things and I wasn't really getting any feedback. So I was trying to resist niching down for a long time, but now I want to start off by getting into parenting, and I also want to do some like tech things and just being at home, home life kind of stuff, and also college. And those are going to be my main areas of focus at that point. So, yeah, welcome. Thank you for tuning in. And the first thing that I'm going to be talking about is it's very overwhelming at first. My wife and I, my wife knew immediately that she was pregnant and I wasn't so sure, I was very not dismissive, but I wanted her to comfort kind of, like, it's okay. Like, don't worry about it. You're not pregnant right now. We still got a long time before you're showing signs, symptoms or anything like that. But we found out at, I want to say maybe like 3 or 4 weeks. That's before she even missed her period or anything like that. So we knew from pretty much like from the beginning almost. And, we would watch a lot of videos about like people dad's reaction to the news that their partner or wife, whoever, right, that they're pregnant. And it always seemed like very like staged. And there was the ones that I felt that were like really like actually authentic, which there wasn't a lot of a reaction pretty much, and I feel like that was more authentic because, when my wife initially showed me the first test, I was like, I was lost for words. I was taking the day off. She wasn't feeling too good. We were, pretty nervous about trying to figure out if she was pregnant or not. So I took the day off of work, and we went to a couple different places, got some tests, and when they finally came back that it was, positive and all that, it was a real loss for words. It was a overwhelming feeling, and I didn't give that big reaction, and it was more of a shock than excited. It's like at that moment, it's when you realize that your whole life is going to change, and I feel like that's something that a lot of people they probably won't get like ecstatic about instantly. Maybe for those who are actively trying, maybe they're having problems, they're not able to get pregnant or anything. Maybe that's when you get those big reactions. But initially, maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm just like a low energy. My wife is also low energy too. It was like, oh man, that was crazy, or oh man, that's crazy. And it's just kind of like we just looked at each other like, well, what now? Like, what do we do now? Like that, we were shaking still because it's like, it's very big news. And it's especially hard when you don't want to tell anybody at first. And I completely understand why people wait so long before they want to tell anybody about it, because the off chance that they lose their baby, it's very devastating. It can be very devastating, and the less people that know about it at first, you're not going to get questioned or asked about it, or you're not going to be constantly reminded, the whole sorry for your loss thing, grieving and all that. It's tough, and I know it's tough because I've had family lose, have miscarriages and everything, and it was really tough on the parents, and it was tough on the whole family. So I completely understand why people don't tell anybody at first, but it does get very hard until you're ready to tell somebody about it, because there's no way to really vent about it besides between you and your partner. So the one thing of advice I can give is just be really open with your partner about how you're feeling, and it is going to be overwhelming, and you are going to get that big excited reaction, and the adrenaline's going to kick in, and you're going to want to do all these things, and you're going to get into your nesting mode and all kinds of stuff like that. But it gets very, very tough at first. Like I said, your entire life is changing, and there's not a whole lot you could really do about it at that point. So I just want to encourage you and say that if you are going through your first pregnancy and you are planning to be there, congratulations, for sure. But you got this, man. There's no reason why you're not going to be able to support your partner, and there's no reason why you're not going to be supported as well. My wife, she was very sick through her whole pregnancy, but everything that I was also feeling, she validated. She was very understanding about how I felt. How it's always been the man's role to provide and do all these things, and once I found out my wife was pregnant, it really clicked when I saw everybody doing everything for their wife. They wanted their wife basically on bed rest or something, and just to reduce the risk of like her getting hurt and the baby getting hurt, anything like that, or just anything bad happening at all, and I just I wanted her to be a pregnant princess, you know what I mean? And, women, they deserve it, because that's some giving birth, pregnancy, and stuff. That's something that, for one, no man could do, and it's the most badass thing that anybody could do. So you got to be understanding, and you gotta know, you just gotta know your partner and be willing to speak, because it is going to get hard for both of you, and you have to be understanding of her also. And I don't necessarily know how to say this, but you can't force being okay at that point. Eventually, it's the pressure of being a dad. It weighs on you, and you see a lot of things. Well, I saw a lot of things on TikTok, even YouTube, about like being a tired dad, being overworked, and not spending enough time with your wife, not spending enough time with your kids. And it's one of the things that I often worried about, was having a good relationship with my children. And right now we only have one, so, and eventually I would like, we would both like to have at least one more. And I feel like at this point, I've been doing pretty good, and I feel like if I've been doing pretty good, you could do pretty good too. And it gets tough, but aside from just your partner being there, being one of your main support systems, there's a plenty of other resources out there. Like right now, you may not know it, but I'm right here. I'm right here with you, giving you like words of encouragement and support right now, because when I found out, and I wasn't necessarily allowed to tell anybody yet. I did a lot of like online research on my own. I did TikToks, I did YouTube, I looked for podcasts, just any kind of advice for somebody going through it for the first time, because I didn't know what to feel. I didn't know what kind of stuff I needed to be ready for. And there's loads of resources, There's for the first like official test that my wife and I did, we went to a Planned Parenthood, and they gave a bunch of resources, and they gave like a whole list of online websites, courses, things you could do to to just prepare for parenthood. And that was really helpful too. And seeing a lot of other people on TikTok, they like to document their whole journey at that point too. So it really helps knowing that there is support out there outside of immediate family, coworkers, friends, stuff like that, where if you're not ready to tell anybody about it, you're covered. There's somebody out there for you that can help. And that goes into one of my next points that I wanted to talk about was, early on, do a lot of research, do as much research as you can in parenting styles, doctors, hospitals. There's a bunch of little things that my wife and I never thought about until the time came for us to, make a decision, like choosing a doctor. You want to choose a good doctor that you trust, with not just your partner, your wife, but the baby as well. They become one of not one of, but literally the most important thing in your life at that point. You're centered around them even before they're born. You want to take care of your wife so that she can take care of the baby. And it's crazy how much of an impact they make on your decision, even before you can even see them, before you can even hear them, And one of the most important ones is finding a good doctor that is going to make sure, not just make sure that you're safe during the delivery and everything, but the lead up to it. And I know a lot of the OBs, they like to brush off a lot of the symptoms because, it's just pregnancy symptoms, or, it's normal, but not a lot of them really like specialize in like the, like severe, not severe, but I guess severe and almost severe kind of symptoms. Like my wife, she was borderline with HG, or like hyperemesis gravidarum, some, whatever that illness, disease, whatever it's called, and they don't know what causes that. And the entire time my wife was asking for help. She wasn't feeling good. The medications weren't working. She was just constantly like feeling bad, and she was really struggling, like staying hydrated, keeping foods down with the morning sickness. And she eventually she could not work anymore because of how bad it was. And her doctor kind of brushed it all off because they were all normal symptoms pretty much, and they didn't do a whole lot of like diagnostic work or anything like that to figure out why really, until she was expressed how upset she was about the care that she received. But then it's the typical things that a primary care provider is going to do. They're going to refer you to outside clinics so they can narrow stuff out pretty much. So the first thing that they wanted to do was they wanted to send her to cardiology, which my wife was, she knew nothing was going to be wrong with like her heart or anything like that. So a lot of the things are just kind of like waste of time because they just need to get something crossed off of a list. But the main reason why we chose to stick with this doctor was because of her deliveries. She's a DO, so not an MD. So she wasn't in a rush to do a bunch of medication. She wasn't in a rush to jump to a C-section or anything like that. So she was very versed in like a bunch of different birthing positions, and just how to be comfortable and different ways to encourage my wife or other women too to to keep pushing pretty much. And that was the main thing. And from what I experienced, that doctor was phenomenal. I couldn't picture how bad it could have been, where my wife was in labor from 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning up until 10:13 at night. 10:13 is when she delivered about that time. And I feel like a lot of doctors, they would kind of cut it off pretty much. They wouldn't want to give all that time to push. They want to minimize the risk and get the mom and the baby safe as quick as possible. So, but this doctor, she was very good. She didn't rush, and she was very transparent about everything that was going on throughout the delivery. And yeah, doing your research is very important because there's a lot of other 5-star doctors at another local hospital, but they would rush into C-section within an hour, 2 hours. And my wife was not wanting to do that because she didn't want to risk having a lengthy recovery. So do your research on a doctor, do your research on a hospital, and also do some research on different parenting techniques, I would say too. There's going to be, for a dad, there's a bunch of like dad guilt, dad rage. And for the mom, there's also the guilt. There's the postpartum, like depression, the postpartum rage and stuff like that too. So it's because you didn't push a whole baby out of your body, and you should be coherent for the most part and, aware of what's going on. You could do a lot of research on how to deal with it, how to help, and, things that you want to do as a parent also. So right now, specifically, we're going through a little sleep regression, I guess. My son just turned 6 months about a week and a half ago, and he was doing okay with sleeping. He would wake up maybe once or twice a night, but he would go back down pretty quickly, and he was really no problem at all. He even gave us like a full night's sleep for maybe a few weeks when he was 2 months, and then every once in a while he'll sprinkle in like a full night's sleep. He'll gift us one of those. But after he turned 6 months, it's like the pediatrician said that he's becoming more aware, and he picked up on other cues that he's not alone. Well, not that he's not alone, but that we're not there. So he is alone. And babies, they develop like a separation anxiety, and they become more aware of it around 6 months. So we're having a rough time with our sleep at night because he doesn't want to go down. So there's things that we tried before. You know, I tried the pick up, put down method. I tried the what else was it? It's like a coaching kind of thing where it's instead of picking them up, you know, you pat them on their back and you know you give them you know like positive affirmations and everything like that. You talk to them instead of picking them up, you know, and it gives them that sense of comfort still. And it worked when he was younger, but now it's he's more aware, so we can't really get away with that too much. And there was, I think it was 2 nights ago, we tried the whole cry it out method because the previous night we couldn't do anything. You know, it was we were up until about 3-4 in the morning, and it was almost as bad as a newborn stage, as you know, I would say at least. But you know, there's other things that you could try. So I found out that you could look at a lot of Reddit threads, and a lot of people that I found they do some playtime in their sleeping area. Like right now, my son's sleeping in a pack and play, and well, he's taking a nap right now, and we do want to eventually move him into like a like a floor bed. This way, it kind of minimizes the risk of like falling, and you know, probably a lot easier on us too. We're not bending down over like a crib wall or anything like that. So, you know, we're looking into those kinds of things, and the methods of like transferring the baby from your arms to the bed, or how much they're drinking during the day, or you know, they just need to know that their bed is a comfy place is what I gathered, you know. So we've been doing like, well, today at least I started doing some playtime in where he sleeps. We put on like a movie and he could relax in there, and he could play. This way he gets comfortable with that space, so it's not just associated with waking up at night and it's dark and he needs to sleep kind of thing, you know. And it's all about making them comfortable, because my wife and I, we're not a big fan of letting him cry it out. You know, we feel like if this is completely like opinion based. This is me and my wife solely. You know, you can have this opinion, you cannot have this opinion. You know, whatever makes you feel good. You know, but we feel like infants, you know, at this age, they don't cry for no reason. You know, they need to be comforted, and that's what they want. That's what they yearn for. And yes, you're going to have to teach them how to cope with some of these things, but there's other ways to do it without letting them cry it out, you know, especially because my wife had to be up really early this morning for work, and we can't let him cry it out all night, you know. And we share a room. We know we're not ready to have him in his own room yet, but we're working on it. We're still trying to figure out how we want to do the sleep situation, you know. And keeping them on a schedule is always good. Making sure they're getting enough food, making sure their diaper's clean and everything as much as you can. But you know, doing your own research and how you're going to go about these things, it's really important, because you know you're not always going to have your answers, and you're going to get frustrated, and you're going to want to you know, like up and leave pretty much. You know, you got to get away so you can take a breath because you're frustrated. You know, we've all been there. I think one of the things for me, you know, when it got really hard for me, you know, I would go sit in the bathroom. I would go take a shower or something. You know, I'd be there for maybe about 20 minutes. Well, my wife let me cool down, and she would, if she needed to, she would I would let her do the same. You know, she can cool down too. You know, whatever was applicable. You know, whatever was going to be able to help let us take care of him better. But it's all about doing research and being educated on different things that you can do, different things that the baby's going to need also. And that goes into something I've already mentioned before, but being present with your wife and your child, even before they're born, you know, it's very important. You know, you want to support your spouse, wife, girlfriend, you know, whoever is having your child. We're just going to say your partner at this point, because I've been trying to figure out what to say without offending anybody really. So we're just going to say your partner. Yeah, you got to be you got to support them. You know, it's not an easy thing for them to do. They're growing a whole human, And there's a limit to what some people can handle, I would say. So you gotta be willing to listen to them, and and do put in the work to develop that relationship with your child before they come out. When they're still in your partner's belly and everything, you can talk to them, you can share music, you can do all kinds of stuff to interact with them. I know some people, well, my wife too, she would play with the baby. She would like kind of like pat on her tummy a little, not pat, like hit really, but like, just like a little gentle tap. And what he would do, he would punch back. He would either kick, or he would go towards that pressure, that feeling, that heat kind of thing. And that was her way of getting close to him, and playing with him. And eventually, I started doing the same thing, and I wasn't very comfortable with it because I was not aware of how she was feeling or how the baby was feeling while I was doing it. And I tend to be a little heavier handed, so I was not comfortable with it at all. So I maybe did it maybe like once or twice, and that was about it. But for the most part, I would always talk to him. I would always tell him things. I would always play him songs. I would play him music. I'd do all kinds of things. There's things you could do before they're born to where you can bond with your child before they come out, and they're gonna know who you are. And that was another big thing that I was afraid of while my wife was pregnant, that my son wasn't going to like me. And I feel like that's a very common thing that a lot of men go through because of how we grew up. Our dads, most of us, right? Our dads were always more distant. They were always working, and some of the time they were like frustrated. They had a shorter fuse than mom, pretty much. And it's up to you to break that kind of cycle, to give your child that feeling. And it all starts from when they're in the womb still. And I did do a lot of research too. How you treat your wife during pregnancy. Well, my wife did a lot of research too. I just tagged on, and yeah, I believe it. I do really believe it, that how you treat your wife, spouse, partner, whatever, right? Your partner, sorry. How you treat your partner during pregnancy is how your baby's going to develop. So there's if you're under, from what I understand, this is no medical advice, this is not professional or anything like that, but from what I gather and what I understand and what I can say that I see it. How you treat your spouse and everything directly correlates to how the baby's going to come out. If your partner is always upset, or if they're stressed out, or you guys are always fighting, and there's a bunch of negative feelings, and it's just a bunch of like negativity that surrounds the your partner and everything. Your baby's going to be more likely to have like I don't want to say it like that, but essentially, they're going to have more of a hard time. They're going to be more fussy. They're going to have more emotional kind of issues when they're first born. They're going to have like because they may not share the same bloodstream, but they share some hormones and everything like that. That, from what I understand, they come from the mother to the baby. So whatever the mom is feeling, the baby's going to feel too. And I've seen it before in, just a bunch of like research that my wife and I have done, where if the mother's in distress, the baby's in distress. If the mom is crying, and they were doing like ultrasounds or something like that, they found that the baby was also crying. They were also in distress at that point as well. So how you treat your partner is very important. So be present, and I don't know, just start being a dad. There's nothing you could do about it. If you're, maybe I shouldn't say it, but I guess I'll just say it. If you're not willing to step up and be a dad, there's no reason you should be doing anything that can put you in that situation to be a dad also. So, keep that in mind, I guess, when you're doing it. But, yeah. And another important thing that I want to say too, on the topic of being present, and being good to your partner and everything, and being very attentive and all that, is while you can, just get away and just spend a lot of time with your partner as possible, because you're not going to have that luxury later on. And maybe it's just me and my wife, but I do know a lot of other people on social media have voiced it as well, that they don't want to be the ones to just drop off their child with the grandparents or anything like that. They want to be the main caregivers and providers for the child. And that's something that we really took interest in. So we don't do a lot of we don't let anybody like babysit them. We don't let anybody take them for extended periods of time. I think there was only one time where we left our son with my mother-in-law, and it was only for about 30 minutes so we could go down the street, because we found a cat laying on the side of the road. And we live in Arizona, so this cat had like a broken leg, and he was like just baking, looked like severely dehydrated. So we took the cat to a shelter, or took him to a vet, and then they ended up taking him to a shelter. And that was a whole like 30 minutes. That was the first time my wife and I were both separated from the baby, together, at once. And I thought it was really rough. I'm pretty sure my wife thought it was really rough too. But, just be present while you can and just get away, because you're not going to have that alone time really. And at first, you're not going to have alone time after they go to sleep, because you need to sleep. Everybody's going to tell you sleep while you can, enjoy your sleep, which is true. You got to do it. But it's not always the most feasible thing that you can do. And if possible, you could spend that time, but for the most part, you're not going to have a lot of alone time until baby's sleeping through the night. They're giving you a few stretches, or if you wait till the daytime to try to get some time together in or anything. But just work on your relationship. That's very important to in parenting. You're going to be teaching your child how to treat their partner pretty much, and you want to be the best example out there. And I wouldn't want my child to be the one that's doing all these bad things to their partner. I wouldn't want my child being the one that's acting up in school or anything like that either. So I want to make it very apparent that I'm a good person. I want him to be a good person too. And I feel like it's very important to start off with having a good relationship with your partner, because that's essentially going to set the tone in the house. If you guys have like an animosity towards each other, it's going to affect the child no matter what, because you're going to fight, you're going to say some things later on, you're going to say some things, or, there's things that you need to avoid that can, negatively impact the growth and development of your child mentally or physically too. But anyway, the last thing I want to leave off with is, if you need help, get help. And, like I said before, there's resources out there. I think my email is somewhere around, I guess. I'm probably on TikTok, but you can always comment, and I'll shoot you a message. I'll reply. I don't mind at all. I can give you some advice. We can talk. There's things that you could do, and there's other resources. There's other podcasts you can listen to. There's this one dude that really helped out when my son was first born. He just started a podcast too. He's pretty big on TikTok. But you literally have like a supercomputer right there, right in your hand. You got your phone, it's connected to the internet, and it gives you all your answers, so there's ways you can get help. There's ways you can learn. There's support for you out there, and it's just up to you to ask for it, to get it. Nobody's going to hand it to you. Nobody's going to, they might ask if you're okay, but most of the time they don't really care. It's just, are you okay? Just out of a habit, out of, just to ask. Sometimes they just don't really care. They just need I need to stay away from this person right now. So if you need help, get help. There's support everywhere. And that's all I really have. And my name is TJ. I am a first-time dad, stay-at-home dad. And this is my podcast, Home with TJ. You can find me on Spotify, TikTok, YouTube. Hoping to get on Apple Podcasts at some point.
If there's any other type of videos you want to see, any other topics, please let me know. I don't stray away from trying new things like this. So, yeah, don't hesitate to reach out. Give me a like, comment, subscribe, follow, whatever platform you're on. It all really helps out, and I would really appreciate it. So hopefully I get to see you next time. Thank you.